So remember, we have a test this week on Thursday. So tomorrow will be the test review for extra credit. Wednesday, free day, Thursday test. Any questions about that stuff? Any questions about the volume comparison homework we did on Friday? All right, so the last topic for the test then is density. Which I'm sure you talked about density in science at some point. It's very closely related to volume, obviously. Does anybody know the density formula?
Mass over volume.
Yeah, mass over volume. So density, mass divided by volume. So in these problems, they're going to give you 2 out of those 3 things, and you just have to find the missing thing. For example, they might give you mass and volume. You might say, for example, a container in the shape of a rectangular prism has dimensions draw it. So we have a rectangular prism, and let's suppose its dimensions are 10 inches wide, 7 inches this way, and 8 inches high. And suppose they said, yeah, contents of container weigh 3.7 pounds. Find the density of the contents. Okay, so they're not giving you everything directly, but they're definitely giving you enough information to find everything. We know what the mass is. The mass is 3.7 pounds. That's the mass. So we just need to figure out what the volume is in order to apply this formula, right? So volume for a rectangular prism is just area of the base times the height, right? Length times width times height. So in this case, it's going to be 10 times 7 times 8. So 7 times 8 is 56. Times 10 is 560 cubic inches. So to calculate the mass then, or the density rather, it's just the mass, 7 pounds, divided by volume, 560 cubic inches. So you can do this on your calculator. 3.7 divided by 560. It's a pretty small number, but it's 0.0066. Say they wanted the answer to the nearest 10,000. And what would be the units here? Yeah, it's like pounds per cubic inch. That means that 1 cubic inch, if you took a little cube that was 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch, that's how much it would weigh, right? So this would be pounds per inches cubed. Okay. So the unknown might be one of the other quantities. It might be the mass or volume. Like, for example, suppose they said a hemispherical tank. Hemispherical tank. With diameter 18 feet. It's filled with water. The density of water does anybody know what the density of water is?
One. Must be about one.
One what? What would be the units then?
Okay.
Anybody know? What's that? No, the density of water, like per cubic foot, like how much does a cubic foot of water weigh?
Oh, I see.
That's the question. Here's a cubic foot. If I had that much water, how much do you think it would weigh? Does anybody have a guess? Let's see who can come closest. Pound?
Well,
Picture a bucket that's this big.
actually, we learned something in earth science that density of water is 1 point something bio, and I looked up.
Okay, so forget anything you've ever learned about density of water. I have a cubic foot of water, this much water. How many pounds do you think it would weigh? If it was in a bucket, this much water. Yeah. Here's these floor tiles are 1 foot by 1 foot. So if I had a cube that was that big, full of water,
Oh, that's.
yeah, it'd be pretty heavy, right? Like, so who has a guess? Just somebody guess. I don't know.
40 pounds.
Whoa.
What?
Too much.
I think 12 pounds. Yeah. Like 16.
I actually think it's like 60 something.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
No.
take it back.
Okay, maybe
He said it's Google
an entire square
Yeah.
foot or
A gallon's like
foot
8
of
pounds.
water, that can be 60 pounds.
Depends on what the tile is.
Density of
I mean, I guess
water.
like
Yeah, it's
What?
62.4 pounds per cubic
Wow.
foot.
See?
See?
I was gonna
Everything
hide
said
there
it's only one.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, it's the 1 gram.
I mean, if you
Ah.
have you ever held a full 5-gallon bucket of water?
Yeah,
No.
definitely.
It's pretty heavy, right?
No, I don't know.
A 5-gallon bucket, like, you know, like
That's true.
a bucket.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah,
No,
so it's pretty heavy to
Yeah, it
carry. That's only 5 gallons. A cubic foot holds like 7 point something gallons. So,
Oh, wow.
so a bucket that's 1 cubic foot is like 1.5 5-gallon buckets. It's pretty heavy.
Wow.
So 62.4. All right, so back to the problem. So if the density of water is 62.4 pounds per cubic foot, how much is the water in the tank? Or how much
How much
does
water?
does the water in the tank weigh? Is what I want to say. Okay, so again, we have this formula, density equals mass divided by volume. They're giving us the density this time is 62.4. And they're giving us what we need to figure out to calculate the volume, which is just the diameter of this hemispherical tank. So what's the formula for yeah, we're just gonna multiply them to get mass. What's the formula for the volume of a hemisphere?
Oh, 1/2 is it?
1/2 of what? What's the formula for a sphere?
Is it 4? Yes, it is.
Wait, what'd you say?
3.5.
Close. 4/3.
3/4.
4/3 pi r cubed. Good. So this simplifies to be 2/3 pi r cubed. Pi times r was 8, is 9 rather, because the diameter is 18. Okay, so if I do that part on my calculator, 2/3 pi times 9 cubed. So that's the volume of this container, 1526.81. So I have 62.4 equals mass divided by 1526.81. And then, yeah, just like cross multiply, right? This is like over 1. So if I cross multiply, I get m times 1, which is just m, equals 62.4 times 1526.81. So I don't have to round it because my answer is still on my calculator. I can just take that answer times 62.4. And you get that much weight, 95,273. 95,273. And what would be the units here? Let's just round it to the nearest whole number. Yeah, it's just pounds, right? If the density is given in pounds per square or per cubic foot, and the volume that we have is in cubic feet, then yeah, that's just going to be pounds. Okay. Let's just do one more problem. What if they said a cube filled with water weighs 100 pounds. How big is the cube? So a cube is just a rectangular prism where all the sides are squares, right? So if I drew a picture of it, this, all the sides would have the same length. So let's just say it's like x by x by x. That's a cube. So the volume of this cube is x cubed, right? X times x times x, length times width times height. So I have this formula, density equals mass divided by volume. I know what the density of water is. I just looked it up at 62.4. I know what the mass of the water is. They told me in the problem it's 100. And I just have to divide that by the volume, which is x cubed. And I just have to solve for x. Does that make sense? So how would I solve this equation for x? Divide by 100. Well, if I divide it by 100, it's going to give me 1 over x cubed here, right? I'm still going to cross multiply, I think. You're not wrong, but dividing by 100 is not going to give me x cubed by itself. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it might just be easier to just think of it as a proportion and then cross multiply. Yeah, it's going to end up being 100 divided by 64, I think. But I'm just going to cross multiply. So I have 62.4 x cubed equals 100. Then divide by 62.4, so x cubed equals 100 divided by 62.4. And then what do I do next? How do I solve for x?
Do you think cube root?
Yeah, exactly, cube root. So x would be the cube root of 100 divided by 62.4. So again, on my calculator, I know how to take cube roots. I'm just going to do math, choice 4, but different calculators do it different ways. 100 divided by 62.4. So it's 1.17. And what would be the units here?
B.
Feet, yep. Because the density we use is in cubic feet, and the weight, or that was in, pounds per cubic feet, and this is pounds.
You're just asking for how big the cube is, and which volume also works?
Yeah, I didn't word the question. I meant what, find the length of the side of the cube, but yeah, you're right, it's just unclear. Okay? Yeah, sure. Any questions on any of these? So we got 3 different places where the variable could be. It could be density that we're trying to find, it could be the mass we're trying to find, and it could be the volume we're trying to find. Okay? So homework's on delta math, it's just called density. So there's no actual lesson, recorded or otherwise, until Friday now. Tomorrow is the test review, Wednesday's a free day, and Thursday's the test. Are you all right with that?
Yep.
Uh,
I might have to get platforms for summer. They're cool. They are. Man,